Hello and welcome to Fulham Fan News. We've been away for a while. We've revamped. We've decided that we're just going to crack on with the transfer news because that's what it's all about. Everyone loves transfers, rumours, all of it, everything. Let's get into it. The window is open. So who are Fulham going to sign? Where do Fulham need to strengthen? I'm joined by Kieran and Joe to discuss that. Kieran, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody. And Joe?
Yeah, pleased to be back in high spirits after a good win against Arsenal. Ready for some big January business, really.
Yes.
I'm hoping it's going to be big.
Yeah. Obviously, Marco came out yesterday and said not to expect anything massive. January windows are always tough to do business in, as we've seen in previous windows, but Fulham do need some surgery in some places. So, boys, I just want to discuss with you where you think Fulham do need to strengthen most and whether you think it's a signing coming in or whether maybe a new contract for someone, or just keeping hold of someone is where it's most key for Fulham. Joe, I'll start with you.
I think it's actually going to be a promising window. I think Marco's maybe downplaying the business that we are going to do. We know that we have lots of money to spend, i.e. the Mitrovic money, which we haven't really fully invested yet. And I do think we're ready. I hope that we're going to splash some of that money on a new striker. I like Raul now. I think he holds up play really well. The thing that I want most from my striker isn't actually the goal scoring, as ridiculous as it may sound. I think for us, when the striker drops deep and draws in the other players like Mitrovic used to do, that's so useful for the way we play. And I think he's starting to do that really, really well, especially against Arsenal yesterday. However, I'd still like to see someone that inspires more hope in me. Like, I want us to... He's 33 years old as well, and I want us to be properly pushing for high, maybe not Europe just yet. That's maybe a little bit silly, but I want us to be pushing for top half still, like we were last season. And one of the key reasons we were able to achieve that last season was due to having Mitrovic up front. And we've seen that we're really missing him this season. And to be honest, I'm sick of talking about Mitrovic. Every single game we play that's televised, they mention him before the game's even kicked off. I'm sick of hearing his name, reading his name on Twitter every week. And until we fill the Mitrovic-shaped gap that's been left in our squad, he's not going to stop being brought up. So personally, for me, I'd like to see us bring a striker in. In terms of other positions, obviously, there's all of the Andre rumours being floated around, and that's obviously something that's really exciting. A player that starts games for Brazil is always going to be exciting. So I think that hopefully we can splash the money. I mean, last time we bought a big striker in January, it turned out to be Alexander Mitrovic. So who knows? Maybe we're going to bring someone in January that it won't seem like a huge deal, but they'll turn into a club legend. We'll see.
Yeah, well, obviously the Mitrovic deal, when he came in January, it was initially a loan. So, and obviously in January it's very hard to do business. So a lot of these businesses, a lot of the business in January is usually a loan with an option to buy, or someone who's not playing, i.e., I don't know, Jadon Sancho or someone like that who is available to be sold. There is money there, I agree, and the Andre one is one that really excites me, considering Fulham have been chasing now for what seems forever. Other clubs have come in and disappeared, but Fulham have always been there, and the fact that Alisson McIntosh actually went to the Copa Libertadores to go and see him and to talk directly with Fluminense says to me that this deal is something that could happen. It all, I'm guessing, hinges on João Palhinha, and obviously that ties in nicely with Kieran. Where do you think Fulham need to strengthen, and obviously keeping hold of Palhinha?
Well, I think Joe raised some really good points there in terms of the whole striker stuff. A question I do have for you, Joe, though, is based on Raul's current form, do you see another striker coming and going straight into the team? Because I think at the current state we're in, Raul's one of our most important players, and I think it would be difficult to push him straight out of a position that he's thriving in, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think if we do bring in a striker, they won't go straight into the team. But I do think that this form that Raul's hit, if I'm being brutally honest, I don't think that it's going to continue all season. And I don't mean just the form he's in right now, which is 4 goals in 4 games. Obviously, fantastic goal per game. Obviously, that's not going to continue. But I think that I don't want to say he's having a purple patch because, like I said, I do like Raul, but I think that is going to slow down. And if we look at options we have to turn to, it looks like Vinicius may be going, even Munez may be going. So I definitely think that we do need someone. And I don't think we need to get a backup for Jimenez. I think we need to get a main striker because I don't think Jimenez is exactly the quality that we need. Although he's doing very well at the moment, I still think that we need someone else to push him further, potentially.
Yeah, the more competition we have for places, I think, will be important, especially when it comes to selection, because once Raul does, like, as you say, dipped in form again, then we're going to need to turn to other options and alternatives. Obviously, we've already said, I think a striker is the main thing on the shopping list. And I hope we can get one to fill that big Mitrovic-sized gap that we've currently got looming over our team, though we are still scoring goals. And it is great to see us scoring goals after that. What would we call it? A mini goal drought or something earlier in the season. And it's good to see the ball hitting the back of the net. And I've got full of praise for the team against Arsenal. Like, you can't. It's such a Fulhamish thing to go from losing 2-0 to Burnley, 3-0 to Bournemouth, not scoring, and then winning 2-1 against Arsenal. It's such a Fulhamish thing to do. So, in terms of other areas you need to strengthen, I think obviously we've got our centre back options. I think Tosin needs to sign a new deal. That's the main thing on the defensive options. Obviously, Tabassi, Ream, Tosin, and Diop. I think Tosin, if he signs a new deal, I think will be really important because he's an excellent centre back. His passing is amazing. He's a really tall person as well, so I think his presence in the box is also vital to our set pieces. So he'd be someone I'd like to see tied down, but of course that's all up in arms as well at the moment. I think obviously fullback wise, I think we're okay. Castagna's doing really well, giving Tete good competition. And of course, our loanee, Fodo Ballatore, I haven't seen much of him, but Robinson's been really consistent over the last couple of games. I've got to say, full of praise for him. So perhaps we could get someone in, whether it's a loan or not, to give Robinson a little bit more competition. Aside from the striker, I think only other area I can really think of is midfield. Of course, Andre coming in. And whether we see someone who can play out wide come in as well, I think could strengthen our attack going forward. Because, of course, Adama Traore, I don't know why he's still injured, but I hope he's recovering and will be back on the pitch soon. But we've not really seen much of him. And whilst Willian, Wilson and Dekodova-Reid and Iwobi are all doing really well, if one injury comes in and it just knocks off the rest of the team, and we think just the number of options we need out wide could be something to look forward to. But yeah, I think overall, I think we've come to the conclusion that the striker is what we need in January.
I have to agree with both of you. Raul has hit form. And I really like him as a player. I think his dynamism and his athleticism is better than Mitrovic, but Mitrovic occupies defenders better than Raul, and he brings players into the game better than Raul. I do think he's adapting well currently to the way Fulham are playing, and they're working out a system to work around him. But as Joe said, he's 33 years old. So similarly to what I think Andre would be if he came in, he'd be in for 6 months, bed him in, then move Paulinho on and Andre takes over. I think we could see something similar with a striker. Maybe get someone in now, bed them in for 6 months, and then they take over from Raul as the main striker. Because the 33, there's not much, to go. He's not going to be long term. We all knew that when he signed. I think his form is, no one saw it coming. No one saw this form coming. And if he hadn't got sent off against Newcastle for something that was just downright stupid, then we might be seeing a guy who's in 7 or 8 goals already. I do think there's no coincidence between us losing the last 3 games without scoring a goal and then coming back yesterday seeing Raul play the way he is. I do think that there's no coincidence there. I think that Fulham have adapted the way they play to play around Raul. And Willian as well was a massive plus coming back yesterday. But again, 35 years old. Fulham need to go in the market in January, in my opinion, and get someone who can come in either on loan. I've seen links to Ben Rama today. I don't think that would be a terrible deal. If we could get a Ben Rama in on loan and then an option to buy for the summer, if Marco can work his magic, he can get the Ben Rama back that's tearing defences apart for Brentford. He's a good option to have. He's a very good player. But I think for me, keeping hold of Palhinha, bringing in a striker to either compete with Raul this season or young, fresh, hungry, someone like Igor Adams or Evangelos Pavlidis, someone like that who can step up maybe in 6 months' time, and then a winger. For me, I think Fulham are really looking in the winger area. And I think we've seen that in the last few games, that the options, the depth just isn't there. Decordova-Reid came in yesterday and did a really good job because he had a defensive job to do. But against Burnley and against Bournemouth, he wasn't. I don't think he started. Actually, I'm doing him a disservice. I don't think he started against Burnley, but Bournemouth, in a game where Fulham should have been attacking, I just think he struggled a bit. So I think Fulham need to look at the age of the squad and start thinking, right, we're going to start bringing through some youngsters or adding some youngsters. I'd love to see Luke Harris get some more game time. Luke Defugerol get some more game time. Devon Townsend, I'm hoping to see him on Friday against Rotherham. I want to see the next generation of Fulham. It's fantastic that Kearney's found form again and he's just reinvented himself once again. But he's 33, and again, we've got to look long term. Under Marco, who has a vision, who wants to build something, we've got to look at the replacements for these players.
And Jay Stansfield back from Birmingham on loan or from his loan at Birmingham could be another option in terms of our strikers in January, because of course he's not thriving massively at Birmingham at the moment, not since Wayne Rooney took over. So I think getting someone back here like him back here, and then either sending him out on loan to another place he's going to really get game time, or whether just throwing him in the deep end and seeing what he can do for our team in the Premier League could be a shout, maybe.
Yeah, Joe, you got anything to say about Jay Stansfield?
Yeah, I actually have more of an unpopular opinion on this, which is I would rather keep him at Birmingham. I just don't think. I think he's a great player, and he proved earlier in the season how good he is. I mean, I watched him a few times when their games were on TV, and wow, the way he plays, the ball control, and how good he is on the ball. I didn't know he was that good until I watched them play, and I think he doesn't quite suit what we're looking for in a striker. However, I think if we were to recall him and if he was to find game time, then he'd find that game time on the wing. I remember last season against Brentford, he played on the wing and it played well. Obviously, nearly scored that goal straight away that Bobby Reid ended up putting in. So I do think he's good, but I think he'd be better served staying in the Championship. And I do think it's a huge shame, like you say, Birmingham are dropping points and Wayne Rooney's coming, and I mean, obviously their fans are all so angry about that, the sacking of John Eustace when they were, what was it, 5th or 6th in the table, just absurd decision. But I think if Rooney continues as he is, he's not going to last till the end of the season, and they'll get a new manager in. And I think it's clear to see the way that Birmingham fans rave about him, that there is talent there and that any manager that comes in should be starting him. I think in terms of our loan players, we've got lots of really exciting loan players, especially attackers. You look at Marshall Godo doing fantastic at Wigan. You look at Kieran Bowie, scored again today for Northampton. So I do think that we've got talent coming up. And Tom, you mentioned the game against Rotherham, and I think it would be a real shame if we don't field some youngsters that we haven't seen too much of in a game against a Rotherham team that are bottom of the Championship, shipping off points kind of everywhere. But I think our problems, if we recall Jay Stansfield as a solution to our striker problems, it's like putting a square peg in a circle hole. I just don't think it's really what we need to do. I think we need to properly invest in a striker that will take us forward for years to come, not just this season. I want someone that inspires hope in our fan base and someone that we can all say, yeah, this is who I want leading my team, like Mitrovic did.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, if the option for someone comes up like that, I think that Fulham will go for it and they will try and get someone in. But also, part of me thinks that this 6 months now, Fulham will go and paper the cracks to stay in the league this season, mid-table, obscure, stay where we are. Nothing fantastic. Obviously, the cup run is just it's wonderful. We're in the semi-final of the cup, which is fantastic. Um, and obviously, we've beaten Arsenal, so there's no reason we can't beat Liverpool. That's the way I look at it anyway. But for me, I just feel like we might see one, possibly two permanent deals, and then both the loans, I believe, will be used, or maybe a European loan will be used to just paper over the cracks, get the depth for the squad for the rest of this season, and then a big investment in a mini rebuild type thing in the summer, and really try and kick on and get into that, 8th, 7th place to try and nick a European spot. Obviously, if we win the cup, we'll be in Europe anyway. So, yeah.
I was going to say, yeah,
that far forward just yet.
I want to see Fulham at Wembley. I'm hanging on by a thread. I need to see Fulham at Wembley. We've not been to Wembley since Brentford game when we got promoted like many seasons ago, and even then the fans weren't there because of COVID. So we haven't properly seen Fulham at Wembley since that Kearney goal against Aston Villa.
No, and we need the white wall again.
We need the white
Everybody
wall back.
wants to see that again. Those so-called Villa fans in the Fulham end. I don't think I saw it. But yeah, for me, I just feel like we need to temper our expectations for this window a little bit. Everyone's expecting for them to go and spend loads of money. I know the money's there, but I feel like the summer is the best time to get the best deals. If a deal is available for a player that wants out of their club, or someone like Jota at is it El Ittihad in Saudi Arabia?
Something like that, yeah.
They want him gone, and they want him off the wage bill. He wants to go. Someone like that, I think, would really come in and add a lot of spark to Fulham's attack. I'm not saying that, if Vinicius and Muniz move on, or if one of them moves on, then Fulham have to bring a striker in. I don't think it will be Jay Stansfield. I agree with Joe. I think maybe not staying at Birmingham, maybe recalling him and sending him to Ipswich, who have been interested, or Sunderland, who are interested. Somewhere where there's a bit more of attacking football going on. And I'm really disappointed as well, because Wayne Rooney is one of England's all-time, best strikers, and should really be nurturing Jay Stansfield as a striker. But Birmingham again today looked absolutely awful. He looks a frustrated figure up front. So for me, I think a couple of loans, one permanent transfer, unless, and this is the big thing, unless João Palhinha leaves. If João Palhinha leaves, you've got 70-odd million euros. I know I'm going to say in euros, but that's how everybody seems to do things now. 70-odd million euros, and then Fulham have a chest to go and spend. That's when I believe they'll go and get Andre, they'll go and get someone else, striker, and then the loans as well.
But could be looking at someone like a Scott McTominay maybe as well.
Again, though, is the value there? For me, they want 50 million for him. I don't think he's worth 50 million, especially
he's not worth 50 million. Man United are run by like a business. They prioritize their business over their players, it seems.
But this is the way I look. Yesterday, for me, there was one defensive midfielder on the pitch who was worth £100 million, and it's not Declan Rice.
Yeah.
So Raul Jimenez dropped into the pocket between Rice and Gabriel, the centre back Gabriel, and he caused them absolute havoc all game. Neither of them knew who was picking him up, and it was brilliant to watch because it was great tactical management from our point of view. But for me, Rice was awful yesterday. He just kept passing sideways, back, whereas Palhinha, we saw the performance. It was
that tackle. I've had it on my mind all day.
Yeah, and I just want to say that at the end of the game, his fist pump, his celebration for Fulham winning that game, that's not the celebration of a guy who last week was ready to walk away from the club. Because everybody said last week after the Bournemouth performance, his mind's elsewhere, he's off, he's gone, he's done. Yesterday, well, everyone saw it. The celebration for the tackle, the celebration at the end of the game. So for me, I don't think at the moment there's anything that suggests João Palhinha is going anywhere. I don't know
Yeah.
if you boys have anything else to add on that.
Well, something that I want to touch on is something that you mentioned with people saying that his head's not in, and this is something that really irked me on Boxing Day. So I made the long, sad trip to Bournemouth, watched us get battered, made the long, sad trip home, but I'm sure the result frustrated me. I support Fulham. I love Fulham. I was frustrated, but some of just the shite I saw spouted on Twitter really got under my skin. And I know that there are always going to be people complaining about different things, but some of the things I saw about people saying we need to cut our losses now and sell Polina as soon as we can when he's dropping off, I just read it and I must have muted about 5 people. I just thought, what are you talking about? And I think that the worst thing we could do is sell Polina in January, and that's not just because we lose Polina, a fantastic player, but it's because, like you said, Tom, we're gonna have a treasure chest of money to spend, and we want to buy some marquee players with that money. But what club are willing to let their marquee players go in January, halfway through their season? Not that many. So Andre obviously is one because he's in Brazil and it's a bit different over there. He's going to a way bigger league. But if we want to make some proper statement signings with Polina money, because if we're all being honest, we all love Polina. He's a fantastic professional, but he is leaving at some point, and I think it would be a terrible, terrible mistake to let him leave halfway through the season. Not just for Fulham's bank account, but for mine as well, because I've stuck a lot of money on him staying at Fulham in the January transfer window.
Oh no.
So I'm optimistic these days. I think it would be a disaster if we let him go, especially since he signed a new contract. And obviously, we don't know the full extent of the terms of that contract. There's obviously something gone on with, or maybe we'll let you leave, or I don't know if there's a clause in it. I've not heard that there's a clause in it, but you'd assume that they've not just said to him, right, we're keeping you here as a prison sentence. You're not allowed to leave anymore. And he's gone, oh, yeah, go on, then I'll sign that. So there must be some sort of detail there which does allow him to leave or let him speak to other clubs. But like I said, letting him go in January would be a huge error to me, especially if we let him go to another Premier League side.
Yeah, well, obviously, all the news at the moment suggests that no Premier League side is A, willing to pay that much for a 28-year-old, or B, financial fair play is not letting them pay that much for him anyway. So, I mean, the reports, obviously, Peter Rutzler put an article out the other day, and he said something like 65 million euros, similar to what Bayern were willing to pay. Obviously, there was add-ons for that as well. I think Bayern's took it up to 72 million. So, yeah, I don't think anyone's coming in with that sort of money in January. I don't think there's any club that can. The only club that can for me is Man City, and I just don't think they're going to go and spend that amount of money on the 28th.
You'd hope not. I think in general it's going to be the main talking point for the media and the TV broadcasters throughout January as we're playing. Obviously, got loads of difficult fixtures coming up. We've got the 2 Liverpool legs of the Carabao Cup. We've got Chelsea away, massive London derby that will be. And I think João Palhinha is going to be a player that will be focused on, especially after everything that went on in the summer with him going to Bayern and stuff. So, I mean, Marco Silva said it himself, with him being brutally honest, that no approaches are coming for any of our players. And as we've already said, I don't think we can see one of our key players going to be leaving in January. Like, if you look at any Premier League club, are any of them going to realistically want to sell their best player in January? No. So as we said, the only clubs that will come in for the big money are your Man Cities, are your Real Madrids, Bayern Munich is one of those teams. Will they come in again? I don't think so, because I think João Palhinha's value has gone up by about 30 million over the past half of the season, and he's now worth double what he was in the summer. So he won't go to another if he goes to another Premier League club, it will be really harsh on Fulham, because it means that we've got to play against him, which is quite the struggle. So it will be an interesting thing to see, but I think Fulham ourselves, we're just going to have to just kind of cope and see out January with the media being like, oh, is he leaving or is he not leaving? Because it's going to be a talking point for all the pundits and stuff. Similarly with the Mitrovic saga, whenever, as Joe said at the start, Mitrovic comes up in conversation at every televised game saying, oh, ever since Mitrovic left, Fulham have struggled to score goals, but Raul's now back. So it's going to be one of those things we just have to kind of like see out and just see what happens, really.
Yep. Joe, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I just think whatever will be, will be. We'll just have to see, but it will be a real shame if we lose him. I'll be really angry because, especially if we do lose him in January, first of all, who do we play as a six? Because the only one I can think of is, I don't think Harrison Reed would cut it as a six. I don't think he's quite physical enough. I think Sasha Lukic we played as a six a bit at the beginning of the season, and that is a huge step down from Polina. I mean, anyone is a huge step down from Polina. So I think if we sell him in January, then we're really in trouble. But as long as we hold on to him, play our cards right, I think we'll be totally fine.
He's part of Marco Silva's project, and I think that's a long-term project, which is really exciting. And if Marco is not willing to sell him or is not entertaining any offers for him, I think that's a crucial part leading up to the end of the season and next season. As we said, I think if we get anyone in January, they'll settle themselves in over the next 6 months to then really kick on and from the start of next season. And I think, yes, João Plenia, we may see him depart in the summer, but I think getting anyone in to kind of even train with him over the next 6 months will be important for whoever we get in.
Yeah, you make a good point there, actually, like not entertaining bids. Like we've already seen big clubs come out and say, not entertaining bids for this player, not entertaining bids for this player. I don't understand why, just because we're Fulham, we can't make that statement. We can't say we're not entertaining bids for anyone, no matter how much it is. We've got a project, we're trying to build something. So yeah, for me, I don't quite understand why there's that uncertainty around it. It's almost like we're leaving the door slightly open, players for teams to come in and go, well, you've not said no, so for me, again, like Joe, it's whatever will be type thing, but I can't see it. And I'm hopeful more than anything, but I can't see anyone paying that amount of money for a player of that ability and that age. I think the age thing is so key. I think if he was 24, he'd be gone. But I think the fact that he's 28, 29 in the summer, I honestly feel like that ship might have sailed for the move to Bayern, for the move to the big European club. I think he might move on in the summer, but I don't see it being for massive money, if that makes sense. I think maybe we might see him go for 40 odd million, something like that, double what we paid for him, but still enough of a fee for a player of his ability at that age. So it's going to be one that rumbles on. I'm sure we're going to talk about it many times on the show through the window. So, boys, I'd just like to say thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully, we'll do many more of these throughout the transfer window. I'm sure there'll be many more rumours popping up here and there. And it's just going to be a case of weeding out the real rumours, real links from the actual rumours. Dodgy Turkish media will take centre stage once again.
Don't believe everything you see online.
I was just going to ask one question to both of you to end it, and I want both of you to give me a player that we've not ever been linked with that you think is someone that you'll see us not see us sign, but someone you see us linked to.
You see us linked? Oh, this is putting me on the spot here, Joe. Oh.
It is. I know.
Is it someone we've never been linked to before?
Someone we've never been linked to, or we've only been linked to very loosely before.
Okay, I'm going to go out on a whim and say Paulo Dybala.
Have we actually been linked to him?
We've never been linked with Paulo Dybala, but he's got a £13 million release clause for any team outside of Italy. The only thing
it would be rude of me to go on it. It would be rude of me to say someone like Dwight Gale.
That's exactly who I was. That's exactly who I was going to say. Dwight Gale.
Jason,
is this the season we finally get him? I don't know.
Or was Osai Samuel, Galatasaray, was it Fenerbahce? We're linked with him every year for Turkish media. Every year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. I love the transfer window. It's going to be fun.
Silly season.
Right. Silly season. All right, boys. Thank you very much.
See ya.
Take care. See you next time.
See ya.
Down there, I live by the river.